So I got commissioned. As you know, my tentacles are way out on Facebook, and this film producer found me, and I am now producing a film documentary on Stan Getz. And I wanted to know if you ever crossed paths with Stan, or even had a chance to play with Stan.
Check out. Yes, I have.
Please
check
tell me.
out
Yeah.
the CTI album. It's not Giant Box. It's the one we did in Montreux. It's a 2-record set. It's with Stan, Dexter Gordon. I don't know, a cast of thousands, really. A whole bunch of people. It's a big band, and Stan Getz is in the horn section.
Is it called Blue Montreux or something?
No, yeah, something like that.
Right.
It's Montreux Summit. Montreux Summit, and it's volume 1 and 2. And I'm there. I'm the drummer. Alfonso Johnson's playing bass. George Duke is playing keyboards. Bob James is playing keyboards. Eric Gale is guitar. And it just goes on like this.
You want to talk about what stood out to you? Not just you played with him, but how you view Stan Getz, what his brilliance was, and his legacy in my mind, as I do more research, a forerunner of he was a bebop, card-carrying bebopper.
Yes, he was. He came in at a time when he kind of was part of the guys, to me, as I listened to a lot of stuff. You could hear him at Howard Rumsey's place in the Lighthouse, working with along with Jerry Mulligan when they were doing the pianoless quintets and all that kind of stuff. Where there was no piano player in the band. It was like the horn players were actually playing chords and stuff and backing up the soloists with the rhythm section, which is very, very unique. I think it's a great way to go. So in essence, it was like everybody was always involved, and they were playing. They knew the changes, so they knew what notes would fit where when they weren't playing a solo. So that was very unique. And I think Miles was even in one or two of those bands.
Yes, he was.
Back when he was on the West Coast.
Absolutely.
And to hear, what's his name now? He sang and he played trumpet. I can't remember, and he died.
One of the Condoli brothers? No, Condoli.
No. He was in. I don't want to refer to him this way, but he was incarcerated at least. I can't remember his name now, but he was a great trumpet player. And he sounded a lot like Miles, but he had a wonderful velvet voice.
This is very okay. Anyway, continue.
He was in that band. He was him and Getz, and I heard some recordings on the West Coast. It was off the hook, man. That was one side of Getz, and then somebody, I don't know how that worked out. Maybe it was Creed Taylor. I don't know, because Creed was with. It was on the West Coast, but he brought Stan up forward and got him into the whole. If it wasn't for Stan, I don't know how much Bossa Nova would have done. But that Stan Getz put a few hits out there that stand the test of time, man. It's about that sound. He had a very unique sound, very much like what's his name, Paul from Brubeck.
Oh, Desmond, Paul Desmond.
Alto saxophone, different sound. It was like it's not for everybody, but it was very unique, very clear, very, very straightforward. Getz had the same kind of situation too. I don't think I heard too many people emulate those two cats at all. It's just that because they were unique in a way. Everybody goes towards Train, Sonny Rollins, and a few others maybe, But those two, Train and Sonny Rollins, big time. Oh, Zoot Sims, Al Kahn, Phil Woods sounded a lot like Charlie Parker, but not Getz. And not Paul Desmond.
You talk about Stan Getz popularizing bossa music?
Yeah.
Was he looked at as some? Because I've talked to a lot of people about the idea that there was this split with Coltrane being the authentic jazzer, Stan being the pretty boy hit maker, and there was this divide where you had this burning quality of Train. And then more, even Liebman said it. He goes, at the time I was just trying to turn it up to 11, and with rock music coming in, I was just totally into Train, and I really didn't. I thought the bossa stuff was kind of snoozy, and I just wanted to know if you thought that he Is Stan given the respect that he's given, or is it, where does he stand in your book as far as his legacy?
Say again. Say again. I missed the part.
Yeah, I mean, just the idea of, was it a press? Was the press very much into sort of dividing between a Coltrane school and a Stan Getz school, and also did Stan, like for instance, when he made those plethora of hits with jazz samba and Girl from Ipanema and all this stuff, you know, the line that Liebman said, you know, from a lot of the cats was, you know, if you made a hit record, or a lot of them, there must be something wrong with you. Okay, I'm just curious if that is something that you can speak to.
Well, I think I can speak to that. You know, it's coming from it's coming from the society in which we live. Somebody decided that jazz you had to be down and out. You had to pay, quote unquote, your dues. You had to have alcohol in your brain, in your blood. You had to have some kind of drug get put into you. And then of course you had to go to jail for taking these drugs, even though the people who put you in jail were the ones who gave you the drugs.
Right.
So it's like all of that. I mean, when you go to a festival or something like this, what used to irk me was that most of the festivals that I saw were sponsored by drugs. It was amazing. Cigarettes, White Horse Whiskey, Seagram's Jazz Festival, the Newport Jazz Festival, the Marlboro Jazz Festival, Lucky Strike Jazz Chesterfield, sponsored by, and it just went on like this. And at the same time, you know, if you made any money, if you were Herbie Hancock and you got Watermelon Man, hey, he sold out.
Right.
What? You know, or Weather Report, you know, hey, they sold out. And then they had to defend themselves. No, we're still a jazz band. Hey, wait a minute. What about the music, man?
Right.
You know?
Right.
You know, what about the individuals who created it? You know, and it's not like that's a problem. We are in the masses in most of the world are like this. The world is controlled and told what to think every second of every day as a mass, and they just go in that direction. Why? Because somebody put the bucks up to pay them to do that to themselves. You know, and it's an interesting situation. I mean, look, we all have to eat. We got to put food on the table. If you don't do what the programmer says, you may not have a job. You know, you don't know who's standing behind you. It is what it is, man. You know, so who's to say? How do you do? So you try to do the best you can. You bring these things up, you know. But reality is that it doesn't matter, you know. And so therefore, all of that you think about these guys, it is the way it has been. I mean, when you see people like I forgot this guy's name now. Great, he was also he emulated Charlie Parker a lot, and I can't remember his name. But he's leaning at Birdland. There's a famous picture of this guy. And he's leaning on the awning, the covering of the awning at Birdland where you would walk in, and he's out. I think it was Art Pepper, somebody like this. Sure. He's out of his mind, and that's what you see. And here's a genius, you know, but nobody talks about him as much as for what he has contributed. But the fact that, you know, he's in and out of jail, he's this and that, and you go, okay, you know, enough of this already. You know, why? Who gave him? Well, how come he didn't get the money that he was supposed to get something to eat, you know, or
right.
to pay for his? Oh no, they didn't have the money. Why? They decided to give him drugs instead. You know, and the stories keep going on like this, and you go, so this guy, if he had gotten paid for you know, he did a job, he played, gave him the money. If it started off like that, he probably would not have had those kind of problems. But I mean, again, we are our own worst enemy, you know, the human race. This is what it is, man.
Did you, because you nailed it, but even before, when you were just a kid in Panama, I mean, Getz was coming up with Tea Garden. He learned how to bend his right arm, like you just talked about. Mm-hmm. All he got pillaged as far as an alcoholic, and eventually got into heroin with the Four Brothers. You know, and when you became part of the studio scene, with Grady doing stuff, and going down to Jim and Andy's or whatever, I mean, in that, I mean, was it still the same that if you were not on Junk, then you couldn't be trusted? I mean, when did that fundamentally, when Stan was coming up, it was like, I mean, he was also a Jekyll and Hyde character, but at the same time, it was like there was this thing in jazz that you talked about, that if you weren't doped up, then you could not be trusted. I mean, what's that? When did that change? I mean, and how prevalent was that when you started in your career?
I don't know how prevalent it was, because I was so, maybe I was protected and I didn't even know it. And for whomever did that for me, I thanked them.
Yeah.
If anybody was on the outside, I think I was just totally naive. I mean, I couldn't figure out what to do with that stuff. I didn't understand why anybody would want it. And so because I wanted to enjoy what I was doing, and I was not interested in being involved in something if I couldn't understand what it was. And if no one could tell me, if I could only see them in a stupor or not somehow acting in the way that I thought they should be, then I didn't condemn them for it, but I didn't understand. So I went the opposite direction and just decided to sit on a fence and watch and see, well, where's this going, man? But that was just me.
Right.
And because of that, I am not anywhere near. I mean, when people say to me, for instance, as an example, hey, man, how come you've never done anything like Letterman or any of that? I said, well, I don't know. But I have to assume that somebody there didn't like me, so I didn't do it. It's not in my hands. I mean, if no one invites me, then I can't go. How come I don't go to Japan more? I don't know. But I've been there a lot. And for me, in my lifetime, 10, 15 times, that's a lot for me. I never expected to be there more than once or twice. So I'm happy. But when you look at a lot of the other artists who almost live there all the time, you go, wow, in 40 years' time, they may have spent more time. They may have spent 10, 15 years there. And I have no idea. I couldn't say that. I don't think I spent a year. But I did enjoy it all, and every time I was there was an amazing experience. So I feel I'm blessed for that, and I just walk away and go the other way, because my life is in parts of the world like Europe, and it's not about playing, it's about living. So, of course, all of the experiences I have, whether it be in Japan or rarely being in China or whatever it's been a real plus. It's a win and win for me. And the more I do or the less I do, who cares? It's about what you get out of it, not how many times you do it. It's about the quality and not the quantity.
Well, and also just going back to what you were talking about, Lenny White, he never did drugs and alcohol because he wanted to know that, to play music from the heavens was real, and there was no substance that was altering it. And I really respect that. I mean, to me, that's the rhythm section there. You and George played with Stan at Montreux. What do you remember from that gig, if anything?
I remember that when I was on the road with my band just prior to being there, because I don't think I was working with George by then anymore. That was 1977.
That's correct. 76, yeah.
76 was with George. 77 was when the Montreux Summit came, and that was the following year. And I came there, and I remember I was wired in a way because we were playing a lot of up-tempo things, and I realized when I got into the band, I had to really make an adjustment, because now I wasn't playing in a small rhythm section anymore. I was playing for, honestly, this was Buddy Rich's band enhanced by all these other guys.
Jesus.
Okay, so you had all these people on the bandstand, and I was the only drummer as far as I can remember, and we played a huge show. That's why it came out on 2 records. But it was Buddy Rich's band and me and all these other cats.
Well, I got it here right for you. You got Alfonso Johnson played with you, and then let's see, you got Hubert Laws, Eric Gale. You had Bob James and Duke, Ralph McDonald,
Yes.
Benny Golson,
Yes.
Slide Hampton, who I just interviewed. Woody. I mean, this is. I mean, and you were so this was big band jazz. I mean, this is unbelievable.
So I walk in, and I find myself having to make a major adjustment immediately, if not sooner, because these guys are of the mind, especially I call Stan and Dexter and them, the older guys, Benny.
Right.
They want 4 on the floor, 4 beats to the bass drum. Thank you very much. Need to know. That's their sense of security. That's what they're used to. And I had to get my head wrapped around that, because I had just come from an environment where I'm the leader. I play whatever I want,
That's right.
and so all of a sudden, but it was not just to satisfy them. It was also to play the music properly that we were going to present, because I understood who they were, where they were coming from, and so that meant, and then again, it was my respect for all these people. Not to mention, I didn't want to mess up. I didn't want to stand out. I wanted to be part of the band. And being part of the band means that I have to generate a specific amount of security, so that when these cats start to play, they feel good about what they're doing. And we got into some things that made them had to stop and turn around and take a look. And that was always, for me, it's an indication that I'm doing the right thing. No one has to say, man, you are playing your butt off. No. It's about the body language. How? People patting their foot and feeling comfortable about what's going on. People wanting to get up and play because they want a piece of the solo as well, because it has meaning now. They feel comfortable. That's where I want to be. And that's what we're talking about with the rhythm section retreat. To be able to get that kind of feeling happening on a consistent basis is very, very important in music now and